Hello, hello there again from the great beyond. um, it's been a while since I've done one of these, let's say, like free-form talks, but I don't know. I just thought I'd check in. It's been a while, and I'm not very consistent with video logging because you really have to get into like a frame of mind, like to try and you have to time yourself, whatever you end up sort of saying and putting out there, your projections. They need to be I don't know, like you have to have like a decent idea about, like, as far as what you're going to talk about. So it doesn't matter either way. I guess this will be more of a vent than anything else. I'm too lazy to put this in the journal. And I don't hold myself to any standards like scolding myself into journaling every day. It's more of a sporadic thing, a spontaneous spurt where I have an idea and I feel like I want to put that to paper, or I just want to sort of file it, file it out or off in a piece of paper or in a document, what have you. So lots been going on. I don't know if I ever mentioned the fact that I'm currently been looking for a job since last year. I got let go from a job I've been working at for the last 7 years, and I think it was a long time coming. It's long overdue. I'd kicked the bucket by then. People talk about quiet quitting, and I think I'd been a quiet quitter for the last 3 to 2 years out of those 7 years that I worked for this company. What it was I did like managed casual conversation classes, and with people from all countries like Turkey, Colombia, and so on. So a lot of, let's say, absolute beginners, early beginners, just wanting to, I'm gonna have to, I don't know what happened. My phone has this weird thing where it just switches off automatically sometimes. So, that's been, if I'm to be completely honest, I took a gap year last year. I was really in a state, I don't know, it wasn't in a state of mind where I knew exactly what I wanted to do next. So I just took a break. I allowed myself a break to just try and figure things out. And as it turns out, I'm still kind of not past that stage of figuring things out, because I can't, or haven't committed to any one, what would you say? I wanted out of education for a bit, because I feel like there's no future in it. It's not so much that I hated working as a teacher for these past, like, what, 15 years. It's just it was something very incidental. It just fell in my lap, and I was probably, what, 19 at the time, and it was the best that I could find, and I just ran with it. I didn't mind helping people. I started with kids. When I say helping people, I mean walking people through, their early steps and acquiring language acquisition. So I was actually satisfactory to an extent. But I guess I fell into a rut. Once I went like all in with the like stay at home modality, So I guess that kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit as far as wanting to continue to pursue a career in teaching and education. And it goes without saying, I didn't go to school. I don't have a bachelor's in languages or anything of the sort. So some people might even say I have no business teaching English because I'm in dire need of learning it from scratch. Maybe you can help me. Maybe you can teach me English. I don't know. But I just thought of many things, like I thought of branching out into, big tech. Quality assurance seemed pretty interesting, very attractive since it has like a low bar to entry. So I did some research on that. But then I realized it's also a very technical job, very repetitive work. You have to be, I don't know. It seems like very demanding. I mean, that's every job nowadays, right? What do you expect? But I don't know where I'd be starting. Maybe take a crash course and go from there. But at the same time, what I dread most. I'm going to tell you what I dread most is working another dead-end job where I'm glued to a screen for the better half of the day, and it's just the same thing. It's like a joy-sucking kind of very mundane routines, and tasks. I don't know that I can do that. I need more. I require more. I need an incentive as not beyond money. I need to make it matter. Like it needs to mean something. It can't just be. There needs to be a through line to keep me hooked. Otherwise, I'll just lose interest. I'll just disengage. Whether I don't know that I have any control over that. I guess people just make do. At the end of the day, but I don't want to be picky. Or choosy. I'm in no position to be choosy at this late stage. I've been unemployed going on what? Yeah, it's been a good 8 months now. So I've never been this long without work, but this is a deliberate decision. I allowed myself. I had some, a little bit of a cushion to fall back on. and I sort of channeled my my energy and my attention into other things, personal projects, such as writing, creative writing, and a few other things. And maybe that was like 20% of what I did at the end of the day. The rest was just like dicking around, and what a big waste of time. Uh, I couldn't find. That's the thing, like I have there's a constant in my life. It has a lot to do with, I think, the way I was raised. My parents always moved from place to place. We were like a traveling circus, a gypsy caravan, if you will. And I guess the most we'd be, from ages, 5 to 1 to, 4 to 16 or 17. We were constantly on the move. Constantly. There were a few breaks, a few pauses, like where it probably lasted a little bit over a year. But there was always sort of expectation, and that we'd be moving soon, and I didn't mind the time. I didn't think much of it, but I think it created this, I don't know, this impulse, this compulsion to always be seeking the perfect place where I'm never completely at ease, or I don't never feel like I found where I belong, so I'm constantly on the move, going from place to place, city to city, like moving between states. I'm based in Portugal, and I've lived in the south. I've lived in the center, middle of the country, Lisbon. I finally moved up to Porto. It's like the second biggest, most populous city in Portugal. And there were lots of other, like minor changes in between, or moves in between. So I'm just at my wit's end, when it comes to the whole moving around, because I'm a 35 going on 36, pushing 40 bachelor, and I have nothing to show for it. I have a little, little contingency fund. That's it. That's all I have to my name, and I'm not getting any younger. So you start to consider, reflect on your, maybe, you could say, bad life decisions, poor decision making skills at this point, at this rate. I don't know what's tomorrow, I don't know. I think that's a lot of people, though, so I don't feel so like I don't get down on myself for this, but I just wish it were different. Not that I'd be that I would problem free, but that I moved on to different problems. Sometimes you just want to shuffle the board a little bit. I just feel like I've been living in this. It's like playing a video game and being stuck in the same boss for like forever. And it's very frustrating. There's a song, there's a lyric that really stuck with me. This band I really like, and it's, I don't know if I can remember it properly, but it says, "To be crushed is not to be, I think, hit and then left to recover. It's to be left in touch, unable to pass from one place to another." And that is me to a fault, to a T. You know, it defines my life. And I really wish that weren't me right now. I wish I were, someplace else. Could you beam me up or something? Oh man. And that's not the end of it, I'm sorry if this is turning out to be a very negative video, but I've survived a series of minor losses, like a series of losses, one after the other. Can chain them together. It started, well, I guess the job was a catalyst, and then what followed was I lost my wallet, and I can't explain how. I don't know. I have this thing where I get distracted, and I guess I just my head must be in the clouds, it's because if it really is, sometimes I'm just, maybe thinking things over, like very deeply, and I forget to manage my stuff, whatever's going on. It's just, I just let things, I just lose things. I'm a bit of a loser in that sense. So I lost my wallet, all my documents, my resident card, my credit cards. There is some money in there. The best thing that can ever happen to you is losing a couple, well, even if it's like $50, a couple $100, like for absolutely no good reason. You're left, it's like completely dumbfounded. It's, so I lost, and this, I was going to pick up this guitar. It's like my backup guitar, like a sort of a placeholder. It's very cheap. Found a cheap guitar online. I'm going to pick it up, and then in the moment where I was supposed to, hand over the money, where is the money? Where is the wallet? Where is, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. And then there's the guilt, there's the, I don't know, the denial. You don't want to believe in what's happening to you, there are worse things that can happen, but there's this like panic that overcomes you. You're consumed by panic. There's no other way of explaining it. And, well, I filed a complaint. I don't know if that's what I should say here, but I made an occurrence. I filed the occurrence at the police, local police station. Nothing came of it. What I got was a lot of charges to my bank account, so it was good of me to block those cards. Um, Now, well, past that, what else? I guess something happens to your brain when you're like on survival mode, and there's a switch that gets flipped, and it's almost, in my case at least, like you can't think properly you don't think logically. It's like you're completely removed from the world and everything that's going on, and the things that people just think to do logically, you just forget to do, it just slips your mind completely. So all these little safety checks, because you're in your own head in Neverland or whatever. In a different timeline almost. So I lost the most recent. There were other losses, I guess, but they were fairly minor. But the thing that completely gutted me, it's like a punch, I got completely sucker punched by this. It was so crushing. So I moved back I was living in the outskirts of Porto. I moved back to Porto because I guess I have better odds finding work out here. I wasn't really looking, but once I came out of my retirement, I think it makes better sense to come back here. So I came back here, and what happened was the first thing that occurred is I got on a train. It was the midnight train, it's the last train home. And, well, I guess you could say that I had this coming, because I didn't have like a plan, a clear plan or idea of what I was doing. I just bought a ticket and got on that train. And I had a couple bags with me. Just a few personal belongings, personal care items. A few spare t-shirts. And I was so exhausted because I'm not going to get into what happened the night before, but I'd gotten little to no sleep. I was completely drained. So I was kind of napping and dozing off. And then I arrived at my station, and I kind of stirred and looked, and I saw it was my station, and the door opened. And I was, I didn't want to miss the station, so I just got up as quick as I could, and I went out the door, I rushed out the door, and then I looked behind me, and I left behind a bag, one of the bags that I'd been carrying with all this stuff, it was like phone chargers and whatnot. And then but it was just, since it happened so fast, the door just closed, and the train, chugged on. So it looked like a movie scene, where you're watching the train, like you're missing the boat, you're missing the train. It's kind of moving into the distance, into the vanishing horizon. And you're left there to I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's the state of desperation because it's not necessarily that it was very important that I didn't lose those items, but it's the fact that I lost it and that I lost control in that moment, and that had been this has been happening more than usual. This is more than you'd say should happen to the average person, right? So maybe there's something wrong with me. Like there are lapses in my judgment or in my thought process is completely haywire, broken, whatever. Or it's, something, a bigger force, trying to steer me away from something. I don't know. I do believe in God, but I don't think God is, one to punish people, repeatedly. It's like I don't think that's how it is. So I just chalk it up to life, being chaotic a lot of the time. But it's sometimes it's so much, and it's so like it's not incidental. It feels it's like a pattern that it makes you really question like whether or not it's some part. It's like the universe is conspiring against you, kind of thing, because this is not the end of it. It's not the end of the story. Later I would go on to suffer what is to me one of the greatest losses of my life. So I carry around with me, I'm a person who loiters at libraries. I put my, little workbook, laptop under my arm, and I head out to a library, to a food court, and I'm going to be there, like what I'm doing now. I'm just going to be doing what I got to do, getting some work in, putting a dent on that story I'm writing, So I have these backup drives that I carry with me. I have all my work, all my projects, everything, all my footnotes, creative spurts, things that I'm like sort of saving for later, ideas. Word logs. Just there's so much of such a big, significant, considerable part of me on those drives. And in one day, in a single day, I went out, and I don't know if it slipped out of my pocket or what, but this little enclosure or compartment where I keep my drives, it just evaporated. It got abducted, I don't know, and I can't fathom. I couldn't have fathomed. I couldn't have. Nothing could have prepared me for that moment. Get this, Lord of the Rings. There's that moment. I think it's actually it's better portrayed in The Hobbit, where the moment where Gollum, he realizes he's lost the thing that is most precious to him, right? And it captures that desperation, the feeling of being like completely helpless, and like something like and even though it's something physical and it might not seem like much to somebody else, it's such a big part of your, it's like my entire work ecosystem was on those drives. My creative ecosystem was on there, and I can finally relate to Smeagol, aka Gollum. And that's something I never thought I'd say. So, well, there you go. I try to trace it, I try to go back to all the places that I've been. I called the lost and found for, subways, but it was pointless. It was all for nothing. But I was badgering security guards at supermarkets and libraries, and it was always the same answer, like, we don't have it, we don't. So it's not that bad. I mean, if I'm to be honest, the upside of all of this, the light at the end of the tunnel, is that I have backups of those files that meant, that I've been working for the past year or so. I always make sure to have a third and second, backup. It's like having, the plan C to the plan B sort of thing. So, but a lot of the progress that had been made is completely, I've set back at least a month in terms of the work that was lost. And that's so frustrating, because for me, writing isn't something that comes naturally. It's an impulse. It's like I feel a sense of duty to write these ideas, because I want them to be real, to be, and once I put them onto, and put them to paper or to a document, it's like I'm making them real. They're materializing. And even it's not, Shakespeare, at least I have the solid, I have the foundation, I have the framework, for that. It's like, it's the, yeah, but I guess I'm going in circles here. I'm just, yeah. So, I don't know. I guess that's all I got. That's the update. I'm a little bit terrified of what might happen next, but I don't want to think that way, I don't want to think that I'm cursed and things will just go back from bad to worse, I want to think that the worst is behind me. That's what I want to believe. There have been other things. I have been, I guess I won't get into those things. I guess I've just, had a little, what would you say? An encounter with a person, a very interesting person, and it's brought a little bit of excitement, back into my life. But it's also, it feels like it might not be as special as I want it to be. It might be just fleeting. So I'm not, placing all my chips on this thing, because I know that I want something like that. I want to latch onto something, because the thing that I valued the most, that I sort of attached. I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit past the moment I said that's all that I got, but there's an interesting thought. You attach. I'm actually going to. I had it written down somewhere. I don't have to read it out loud to you. I guess I'll just try and paraphrase. It's like, it's a reminder that, the loss of things, material goods, or be it, people, or opportunities, relationships, whatever it is, if you're too attached to something, and your identity is rooted in that, it can be you can feel completely shattered. You can feel completely like, it's like you lost your foundation, So it reminds me of that story from the Bible, where it tells about the house that it's like a variation on the Three Little Pigs. But I think it's slightly better. The house that was made of, I don't know, it's of chaff or whatever, and it was set on the sand, and then the rain came, the storms came, the floods came, it got swept away. But the house that was built upon the rock, maybe it was a brick house, right? It's like the double future-proofing. It was, brick built and set on the rock. That's the one that's survived. Withstood the rains and the storms and the floods. So, yeah, I guess that's a closing thought for this video. I hope you have your house set on the rock, and maybe that's something that's beyond you and I. Okay, that's it. That's really for real now this time. That's all I got. God bless.